the enchanted realms of Wales, unveiling nature's hidden symphonies. Nestled like a verdant jewel on the western edge of the island of Great Britain, Wales emerges as a land of timeless wonder, where ancient mountains whisper secrets to the restless sea. This captivating country, a constituent nation of the United Kingdom, stretches westward from its steadfast neighbour England, which forms its eastern border like a protective sibling. To the north and west, the vast Irish Sea cradles its rugged shores with salty embraces, while the Bristol Channel laps gently at its southern flanks, a gateway to the wild Atlantic beyond. Imagine a realm where dramatic coastlines collide with mist-shrouded peaks, creating a tapestry of emerald valleys and sapphire lakes that has inspired poets and dreamers for centuries. In the grand theatre of the world, Wales occupies a modest yet mesmerizing stage, covering approximately 20,179 square kilometers, an area akin to the bustling state of New Jersey in America or a fraction of Belgium's gentle pastures. This compact canvas, roughly 8,023 square miles of untamed beauty, harbors a population of around 3.1 million souls, scattered like wildflowers across its diverse landscapes. Here, where over 80% dwell in urban whispers, yet the heart beats in rural rhythms, nature reigns supreme. With its highest peaks piercing the heavens at nearly 1,085 meters and coastlines stretching over 2,700 kilometers, Wales is a symphony of contrasts, from the fiery red dragons of legend to the serene blue veins of its rivers. It is a place where the wind carries the scent of blooming heather, and every horizon promises a new revelation. As we embark on this odyssey through Wales' lesser-known wonders, let us wander beyond the clamour of cities, delving into the soul-stirring realms where earth, water, and sky entwine in eternal dance. These are the hidden symphonies of slate-carved quarries reborn in emerald, thundering waterfalls that sing of ancient glaciers, and wind-swept headlands where seabirds compose arias against the cliffs. Each site unfolds like a chapter in nature's grand epic, inviting you to breathe deeply, to listen to the rustle of leaves in forgotten forests, and to feel the pulse of a land that defies the ordinary. Join me as we traverse these enchanted corners, where the ordinary dissolves into the extraordinary, and Wales reveals her wild heart. Aber Falls. In the shadowed foothills of the Carnarvon Range, Aber Falls cascades like a silver veil from the heavens, plunging 37 meters over a sill of ancient igneous rock into a misty embrace below. The Afon Goch, or Red River, feeds this spectacle, its waters tinted by the iron-rich soils of the surrounding moorlands, creating a perpetual symphony of foam and thunder that echoes through the glen. As sunlight fractures through the spray, rainbows arc like fleeting bridges to the divine, while ferns and mosses cloak the boulders in verdant secrecy. Encircling this natural altar is Coed Aber, National Nature Reserve, a temperate rainforest woodland where twisted oaks and hazel trees form cathedral arches overhead, their branches heavy with lichen in hues of emerald and gold. Here, the air hums with the trill of woodland birds, wrens darting like living jewels, and the elusive wood warbler weaving melodies from the canopy. Climate and geology have conspired over millennia to sculpt this haven where human footsteps fade into the understory, yielding to the quiet dominion of wild garlic blooms and foxglove spires that nod in the breeze. Aberystwyth. Along the dramatic sweep of Cardigan Bay, Aberystwyth cradles pockets of wild serenity where the land meets the sea in a tender, timeless union far from the town's gentle bustle. Constitution Hill rises like a sentinel, its slopes carpeted in heather and gorse that burst into golden flames come summer, offering vistas where the Irish Sea stretches to infinity under skies painted in perpetual flux. Here, The wind carries the salt-kissed breath of the ocean, mingling with the earthy perfume of wild thyme and the faint, sweet nectar of blooming clover. Nestled nearby, the arch, a majestic masonry remnant, overlooks ancient beech woodlands that tower like silent guardians, their massive trunks etched with the scars of centuries and leaves forming a rustling dome that filters sunlight into ethereal shafts. These woods, part of Gogardan, invite wanderers along fern-fringed paths where bluebells carpet the forest floor in April's gentle hush, and the undergrowth teems with the hidden lives of voles and hedgehogs. Streams trickle like silver threads, pooling in glassy hollows where dragonflies skim the surface in iridescent dances. Abandoned Amlwch Coastal House. Perched on the windswept fringes of Anglesey's northern shore, the abandoned Amlwch Coastal House stands as a poignant relic, its weathered stones half claimed by the relentless tide of nature's reclamation. Ivy tendrils, thick as ropes, coil around crumbling walls like emerald serpents, while salt spray from the Irish Sea etches patterns of patina on the facade, turning decay into a canvas of textured beauty. From its lonely vantage, the eye sweeps over dunes where marram grass sways in rhythmic unison, guarding secrets buried in the sand. Surrounding this forgotten sentinel, the coastal path unfurls through a tapestry of heath and scrub, where thrift and sea campion cling to rocky outcrops, their pink and purple blooms defying the gales that howl from the north. Porth Amlwch's Creek, carved by ancient faults in the bedrock, cradles tidal pools teeming with anemones and crabs, their world a miniature ocean in the lee of basalt cliffs, scarred by eons of erosion. At dusk, the sky ignites in a fiery hues, casting long shadows that dance across the heather, while seals haul out on distant slabs, their mournful calls blending with the waves' eternal cadence. Llyn Dam. Amid the rolling moorlands of northeast Wales, Llyn Dam rises as a graceful engineering marvel, its 27-metre granite facade curving like a frozen wave against the sky, impounding the Afon Llyn in a vast reservoir that mirrors the heavens. Spanning over 900 acres, this man-made lake gleams like liquid sapphire, its surface ruffled by breezes that carry the scent of blooming heather from the encircling hills, where purple carpets stretch to the horizon under vast, ever-shifting clouds. The dam's Gothic towers, adorned with arched parapets, stand as elegant sentinels, their stone warmed by the sun into hues of honey and rose. Encircling the reservoir, a 9-kilometre trail meanders through birch and pine woodlands where the understory bursts with bilberry and rowan, their berries ripening like jewels in autumn's golden light. Wildfowl gather in abundance, tufted ducks diving with elegant poise, and grebes weaving through reeds in balletic grace, their calls a soft counterpoint to the distant trickle of feeder streams. The water's edge reveals a hidden world of submerged boulders and aquatic plants, where perch and trout dart like silver arrows, sustaining a chain of life that ripples outward to the moorland's edge. Amlwch. On the northeastern tip of Anglesey, Amlwch unfolds as a coastal idyll, where the land yields to the sea in dramatic cliffs and hidden coves, far from the mainland's clamour. Paris Mountain looms like a colossal, multicoloured sentinel, its slopes painted in surreal streaks of red, purple and orange from millennia of copper mining, now softened by nature's velvet touch of moss and fern. Trails snake through this otherworldly terrain, where the air thrums with the hum of insects amid wild thyme and heather, and vistas open to the Irish Sea's boundless expanse, waves crashing like thunderous applause below. The Anglesey coastal path traces this rugged fringe, weaving past salt marshes where samphire thrives in saline embrace, its crisp greens a feast for foraging eyes amid the calls of curlews probing the mudflats. Dunes of fine sand rise like undulating waves, carpeted in marram and dotted with rare orchids that unfurl in summer's warmth, while seabirds, kittiwakes and fulmars nestle in cliff crevices, their white plumage stark against basalt's dark austerity. At low tide, rock pools gleam with starfish and limpets, miniature galaxies reflecting the sky's vast dome. Amlwch Port Red Brick. Tucked into a natural creek hewn by ancient geological fissures, Amlwch Port's red brick remnants stand as weathered testaments to time, their ochre tones glowing like embers against the slate-grey sea. The harbour's narrow entrance, framed by high rocks rising like primordial guardians, shelters a world of tidal rhythms where waves lap at barnacle-encrusted piers, dislodging whispers of foam that drift like spectral veils. Overhead, gulls wheel in raucous chorus, their cries mingling with the creak of wind against derelict timbers, while the horizon melts into a haze of indigo and pearl. Flanking the port, coastal heath unfurls in a riot of colour, ling heather's purple spikes mingling with the golden heads of tormental, drawing bees in lazy spirals under the summer sun. Salt-tolerant shrubs hug the shoreline, their twisted forms sculpted by relentless gales, sheltering ground-nesting birds like stone chats that perch like feathered beacons amid the bracken. At ebb tide, the foreshore reveals a labyrinth of seaweed-draped boulders where periwinkles cling and anemones pulse in shallow pools illuminated by shafts of light piercing the mist. Anglesey. Isolated yet intimately linked by the slender Menai Strait, Anglesey emerges as an island of profound natural poetry, its 276 square miles a haven of dunes, cliffs, and ancient forests that defy the modern world. The Anglesey area of outstanding natural beauty envelops nearly the entire coast, where golden sands curve like crescent moons at Newborough, backed by vast pine woods, where red squirrels scamper through needle-strewn glades, their chattering a lively undercurrent to the wind's sigh. Inland, marshlands teem with snipe and lapwings, their calls rising like ethereal flutes over reed-fringed lagoons. The coastal path, a 125-mile ribbon of revelation, threads through salt marshes and flower-rich macaire, where sea holly's spiky azure blooms sentinel the domain of seals, basking on kelp-strewn slabs. Dramatic headlands like South Stack plunge 100 metres to the sea, their basalt columns home to chough with crimson bills, probing the turf, while puffins burrow in grassy cliffs, emerging with beaks laden like clownish treasures. Rivers like the Allor meander through oak-dotted valleys, their banks alive with otters gliding like shadows and kingfishers flashing sapphire bolts along the water's edge. Barmouth. Where the Mordack estuary kisses the Irish Sea, Barmouth reveals itself as a coastal sonnet, its 3-mile beach of golden sand stretching like a silken ribbon under the vast arc of sky. Waves curl in lazy aquamarine rolls, sculpting dunes where razor shells crunch underfoot and sandhoppers leap in startled clouds, while the horizon shimmers with mirages of distant realms. Behind the shore, the panorama walk ascends through oak and birch groves, their leaves a rustling veil, revealing glimpses of the estuary's silver thread weaving through emerald hills. Morfa Diffrin National Nature Reserve adjoins this paradise. Its 1,000 acres, a symphony of slacks and salt marsh, where orchids, early purple and bee, unfurl in spring's tender light amid the calls of skylarks spiraling heavenward. Dunes rise in undulant waves, stabilized by marram grass that whispers secrets to the wind, sheltering natterjack toads, whose nocturnal chorus bubbles like a hidden spring in summer nights. The Mordack's tidal flats gleam with waders, oyster catchers piping in black and white finery, and curlews with bills curved like scimitars, probing the mud for sustenance. Beaumaris Castle, though its walls evoke medieval might, Beaumaris Castle's true splendour lies in the encircling embrace of Anglesey's coastal wilds, where the Menai Straits tidal dance mirrors the sky's moods in liquid poetry. Flat marshlands, once a defensive moat, now bloom with flag irises and reeds that sway like ballerinas, harbouring bitterns whose booming calls resonate across the shallows at dawn. The castle's low-lying grace allows uninterrupted views of Snowdonia's jagged silhouette, where mist clings to peaks like gossamer veils, and the strait teems with seals surfacing in playful arcs. Beyond the battlements, the coastal path unfurls toward red-sided garlands of wild rose and honeysuckle, their petals perfuming the air with sweet allure amid the trill of willow warblers. Salt meadows fringe the shore, dotted with sea lavender in lavender haze come July, attracting butterflies, peacocks, and painted ladies in fluttering ballets over nectar-rich blooms. At low tide, cocklebeds emerge like jeweled mosaics, where egrets stalk with patient elegance, their reflections doubling the scene's ethereal calm. Bedgelert, cradled in the Llyn Gorge's verdant folds within Rhossili National Park, Bedgelert whispers of wild enchantment, where the River Llyn tumbles over moss-slicked boulders in a ceaseless, sparkling aria. Steep wooded hills rise like emerald amphitheatres, their oak and larch canopies alive with the rustle of pine, martins leaping branch to branch, and the understory a carpet of wood, sorrel, and violet that glows in dappled light. Feral ponies graze mist-shrouded meadows, their coats shaggy with winter's frost, while wild goats scale sheer crags with defiant grace. Bedgelert Forest envelops the village in a treasure trove of trails, where Scots pines tower like ancient pillars, their needles carpeting paths in fragrant amber, and streams carve silver ribbons through fern-choked gullies. Red kites soar overhead, their forked tails slicing the sky in rufous elegance, scavenging amid the calls of ravens croaking from rocky perches. In spring, bluebells form azure seas beneath the boughs, mingling with the white froth of wild garlic, releasing scents that intoxicate the air like nature's own elixir. Brecon Coed, tucked in the Gwydr Forest's lush embrace, Brecon Coed unfolds as a verdant prelude to Snowdonia's drama, where the River Llyn foams through swallow falls in crystalline veils that catch the light like shattered diamonds. Ancient yews, some 5 centuries old, sentinel mossy glades around St. Michael's Church, their gnarled limbs heavy with lichen tapestries in jade and silver, while the valley's alpine air carries the crisp tang of conifer resin. Trails ascend through mixed woodlands where rowans blaze scarlet in autumn, their berries a feast for waxwings flitting like feathered phantoms. Coed Gorswyn National Nature Reserve harbours base-rich soils that nurture a floral symphony. Ladies' slipper orchids nodding demurely amid primroses, and ramps carpeting the floor in garlic-scented waves come May. The Conwy River meanders nearby, its pebbled beds alive with dippers bobbing like clockwork toys, and grey wagtails teetering on overhanging branches. Steep-sided gorges channel mists that rise at dawn, veiling ferns and liverworts in ethereal halos, where the hum of solitary bees blends with the trickle of unseen springs. Brecon Beacons. Spanning 519 square miles of upland majesty in southern Wales, the Brecon Beacons ignite the imagination with sandstone summits that rise like fiery sentinels, their escarpments etched by glaciers into sheer cliffs veined with quartzite sparkle. Penny Fan, the highest at 886 metres, commands panoramas where moorlands roll in purple heather seas, interrupted by golden gorse that flames against the sky's vast canvas. Waterfalls like those at Ystrad plunge into limestone gorges, their mists nurturing hanging woodlands of sessile oak and ash, where mosses drape like velvet curtains. The park's diverse realms include fens and bogs teeming with sundews, carnivorous jewels that glisten with dew amid the calls of snipe drumming over sphagnum cushions. Rivers carve U-shaped valleys, their banks lined with alder and willow, sheltering otters that slip through currents like liquid shadows, while kingfishers dart in azure flashes along the water's edge. In the Black Mountain's northern flank, hay-scented meadows bloom with betony and scabious, attracting marbled white butterflies in a languid spirals under the summer sun. Caernarfon Castle. Perched on the banks of the Sion estuary, Caernarfon Castle's imposing presence is softened by the encircling wilds of the Menai Strait, where tidal waters swirl in turquoise eddies, fringed by salt marshes blooming with sea aster. The castle's grassy environs burst in spring with crocuses and daffodils, Wales' national flower, carpeting lawns in golden waves, while bees hum among clover patches that nod in the breeze. Beyond, Llyn Peninsula's dark waters reflect Snowdon's peaks, a natural amphitheatre where peregrines stoop from craggy heights in thunderous dives. The surrounding coastal path threads through dune systems backed by oak woods, where holly and hazel form thorny labyrinths, alive with wood mice scurrying through leaf litter. At low tide, the strait reveals cockle beds and lugworm casts, like lunar craters, probed by turnstones in russet plumage, their pipings a seaside serenade. Mists from the estuary cloak ancient yews in spectral veils, their berries reddening like hidden rubies amid the calls of curlews wheeling overhead. Caerphilly Castle. Encircled by vast artificial lakes that shimmer like twin sapphires, Caerphilly Castle floats in a watery realm where moats teem with mute swans gliding in regal arcs, their cygnets trailing like feathered flotillas. Covering 30 acres, these lakes, among Britain's most elaborate water defences, harbour pike lurking in lily-pad shallows and herons stabbing with dagger bills at darting minnows. The surrounding parklands roll in emerald waves, dotted with ancient oaks, whose acorns feed squirrels in chattering pursuits through the canopy. Gravel paths wind through meadows where cowslips and ragged robin sway in spring gales, their colours a pastel prelude to summer's foxglove towers that attract bumblebees in furry blunders. The castle's aisle, once marshy, now supports hawthorn hedgerows, heavy with sloes, sheltering hedgehogs that rustle in nocturnal forays amid the dew-kissed grass. At dawn, mist rises from the waters like incantations, veiling the battlements in soft focus, while coots patter across the surface in rippling wakes. Cabancoch Dam. As the lowest sentinel in the Llyn Valley's chain, Cabancoch Dam masquerades as a natural cascade, its 20-metre granite face spilling water in a perpetual thunderous veil that mimics the wild fury of untamed rivers. Hewn from nearby quarries, its stone blends seamlessly with the valley's schistose slopes, where rowan and birch cling to crevices, their roots drinking from seepage that trickles like silver filigree. The reservoir above gleams in cerulean depths, fringed by sphagnum bogs, where cotton grass nods like ghostly lanterns in the breeze. Trails ascend through sessile oak woods, their canopies a mosaic of lichen and moss that filters sunlight into emerald pools on the forest floor, nurturing wood anemones in starry carpets come spring. Red kites wheel lazily overhead, their russet wings spanning the sky's vast dome, while dippers teeter on mossy boulders, submerging in flash to hunt caddis larvae in the pebbled stream. The dam's overflow, a roaring symphony, aerates the air with mist that rainbows arc through, illuminating ferns that unfurl like prehistoric scrolls. Cardiff. Though the capital's pulse quickens in urban veins, Cardiff's wild veins thread through verdant parks and wetlands that reclaim the city's edges in leafy defiance. Bute Park, sprawling 130 acres along the Taff River, unfolds in arboreal grandeur, beach avenues arching like cathedrals, their copper leaves cascading in autumn's fiery torrent to carpet paths in crunching gold. The river meanders through, its banks alive with kingfishers in turquoise darts and grey herons poised like statues amid the rush of weirs. Cardiff Bay Wetlands Reserve, a 165-hectare haven, pulses with tidal rhythms where lagoons mirror the sky in glassy calm, fringed by reed beds that sway with the wind's sigh, harbouring bitterns whose reed-rattling calls pierce the dawn. Salt marshes bloom with glasswort and crimson spikes, drawing teal and shoveler ducks in dabbling flocks, while dragonflies, emerald and common hawker, skitter over shallow pools in iridescent veils. Paths wind through wildflower meadows where oxeye daisies and vetch entwine, nectar magnets for hoverflies buzzing in lazy loops. In the Vale's regional parks, like Bringar's 100 acres of woodland and wetland, ancient pollards stand sentinel over streams where otters frolic in moonlit slides, and badgers sets honeycomb the earth with hidden lives. Spring awakens the canopy in lime greens, bluebells pooling in shaded dells like sapphire seas. Cardiff's green lungs breathe a wild respite, weaving nature's intricate web through the urban tapestry in enduring vital harmony. Cardiff Castle. At the heart of the city, Cardiff Castle's grounds bloom as a romantic wilderness, where Victorian gardens yield to wilder realms of ancient trees and winding streams that evoke forgotten fables. The western moat, a sunken glade of towering limes and plains, harbours owls in hollow trunks, their silhouettes ghosting the twilight as ivy cloaks walls in evergreen mantles. Animal wall beasts, rhinoceros and hyena carved in stone, gaze over lawns where wild garlic waves in spring's verdant tide, perfuming the air with pungent allure. The arboretum unfurls in exotic splendor amid natives, copper beeches flaming scarlet against yews whose berries redden like woodland lanterns, drawing thrushes in songful raids. Streams bubble through rockeries fringed by ferns and hostas, pooling in lily-choked basins where frogs chorus in vernal symphonies, their spawn gelatinous orbs adrift in sun-dappled shallows. In summer, hollyhocks tower along paths, their spires alive with bees, while butterflies, red admirals and peacocks, flutter in painted dances over buddleia blooms. Conwy. On the Conwy estuary's cusp, where river meets sea in brackish ballet, Conwy's natural realms pulse with tidal vitality, reed beds swaying like golden banners in the estuary's breath. The RSPB's 100-hectare reserve cradles lagoons where avocets curtsy in black and white elegance, probing shallows for shrimp amid the ripple of wind over water. Ancient woodlands of alder and willow fringe the banks, their roots drinking deep from the flood's kiss, while kingfishers excavate tunnels in sandy cliffs, emerging in sapphire streaks against the mudflat's sepia canvas. The river's glacial valley carves a deep furrow, its slopes clad in sessile oak that drips with moss in humid vales, nurturing lesser horseshoe bats that flit at dusk in echolocating swarms. Salt marshes bloom with sea purslane and succulent greens, a banquet for shelducks grazing in familial flocks, their plumage iridescent in dawn's light. Trails ascend to limestone pavements pocked with grike flora, ragged robin and bloody cranesbill, spilling from fissures like hidden gems. Conwy Castle. Crowning a rocky spur above the estuary, Conwy Castle surveys a realm where Erery's crags pierce the horizon like jagged teeth, their flanks cloaked in mist that spills into the valley below. The castle's walls frame views of the Conwy River's serpentine course, its tidal reaches fringed by salt meadows where samphire thrives in crystalline crunch, drawing teal in iridescent flocks to dabble at ebb. Woodlands of hazel and hawthorn encircle the base, their spring blossoms a froth of white against the stone, buzzing with the industry's hum of solitary bees. The Great Orme looms across the strait, its limestone cliffs a canvas for peregrines stooping in thunderous plummets, while below, cockle beds gleam at low water like scattered pearls, probed by oyster catchers in piping processions. Gravel paths descend to the quay, where waves lap at weed-draped steps and gulls wheel in raucous spirals over foam-flecked crests. In autumn, bracken turns to bronze on the slopes, acorns feeding jays that flash azure wings through the canopy's rustle. Critcheth Castle, perched on a rocky promontory thrusting into Tremerdog Bay, Critcheth Castle commands a seaside throne where waves crash against basalt in foaming crescendos, sculpting sea caves that echo with the sea's subterranean roar. The headland's turf, starred with thrift and sea pink, clings to cliffs dropping sheer to the surf, where razorbills nest in crevices, their tuxedoed forms tumbling in clumsy flights to the water below. Vistas sweep across the bay's curve, where dunes undulate in marum waves under Snowdonia's distant peaks, mist-veiled and majestic. The Outer Ward's remnants overlook pebble strands, where limpets cluster in armoured ranks, and anemones pulse in tidal pools like living jewels under the sun's interrogation. Spring awakens the slopes in gorse's coconut-scented gold, mingling with bluebell drifts that pool in sheltered hollows, drawing butterflies in tentative sips. At low tide, the shore reveals fossiliferous slabs, trilobites etched in stone, remnants of ancient seas, now lapped by the modern tide's indifferent kiss. De Ganwy. Flanking the Conwy estuary's mouth, De Ganwy's twin hills rise like petrified sentinels, their limestone flanks scarred by ancient quarries, now softened by nature's green mantle of ivy and bramble. The Llyn, a Glaswelter SSSI, harbours nationally rare flora, lesser meadow rue nodding amid the scree, and wall pennywort cascading from fissures like verdant waterfalls. Trails ascend through scrubby heath, where gorse flames yellow against the sea's azure, and the wind carries salt, mingled with the honeyed breath of blooming clover. The coastal fringe unfurls in shingle banks, where oarweed sways in submerged forests, harbouring pollock that dart like silver phantoms among kelp's holdfasts. At high tide, the estuary floods in silken sheets, reflecting the hill's contours in mirrored perfection, while herons stalk the margins in grey solitude. Spring carpets the slopes in primroses and violets, their delicate hues a counterpoint to the rugged crags that once echoed with quarry hammers. Denby Castle, atop a carboniferous limestone outcrop overlooking the vale of Clwyd's fertile plains, Denby Castle surveys a realm of rolling pastures where wild ponies graze mist-shrouded meadows under the Clwydians distant. The hill's flanks, cloaked in hawthorn and blackthorn scrub, burst in May, with creamy blossoms that perfume the air, drawing brimstone butterflies in sulphurous flutters over nectar-rich blooms. Gravel paths ascend through turf starred with betony and scabious, their purple spikes swaying in the breeze like floral sentinels. The castle's grassy baileys harbour ancient yews, whose boughs arch like Gothic vaults, berries reddening in autumn's glow to feed blackbirds in throaty songs from the ramparts. Below, the Ystrad Valley unfurls in emerald folds, rivers carving silver meanders through woods where otters slide into pools fringed by alder roots. Spring awakens the slopes in wood anemone drifts, ghostly white against the limestone's pale gleam, while badgers burrow in sets, honeycombing the hill's base. Denby Lunatic Asylum. Enveloped by the undulating hills of the Vale of Clwyd, the ruins of Denby Lunatic Asylum, now H.M.P. Berwyn's shadow, yield to nature's compassionate overgrowth, where sycamores and sycamores pierce the slate roofs in triumphant arches. Ivy veils the crumbling facades in evergreen tapestries, its leaves a rustling symphony in the wind, while snowdrops carpet the grounds in January's fragile hope, nodding amid the calls of rooks nesting in the tower's eaves. The surrounding parkland rolls in meadow waves, buttercups gilding the sward come summer, under skies of boundless blue. Wooded dells fringe the site, ash and elm groves alive with nuthatches spiralling trunks in staccato knocks, and blue tits flitting through holly thickets heavy with scarlet berries. Streams trickle from the hills, pooling in fern-choked hollows where newts glide in amber-lit depths, their world a submerged mosaic of weed and ripple. Autumn paints the landscape in copper and crimson, fallen leaves swirling in eddies that whisper of forgotten times now reclaimed. Dinas Castle. Crowning a 321-metre hill above the Dee Valley, Dinas Castle, Crow's Fortress, overlooks a realm where rivers carve serpentine gorges through sandstone cliffs, veined with quartz sparkle. The Dee below foams in whitewater rages over boulders, salmon leaping in defiant arcs amid the spray, while peregrines nest in the crags, stooping with falcon's fury to claim the air. Oakwoods cloak the slopes in emerald density, their canopies dripping with moss that filters sunlight into cathedral shafts on the forest floor. Trails ascend through bracken and bilberry thickets where windchats perch on thistle stems, their piping calls a herald to the wind's upland moan. The castle's D-shaped tower, etched with lichen in silver filigree, frames vistas of the Berwyn's heather-clad moors stretching to the horizon's haze. Spring awakens the hill in primrose pools and violets, their hues a delicate counterpoint to the rock's austere grandeur. Dinas Island, a sandstone prow jutting into Newport Bay, Dinas Island, nearly severed by a marshy isthmus, rises 140 metres in cliffs fringed by gorse and bramble that flame gold against the sea's turquoise rage. The coastal path circles this headland, windswept turf, blooming with spring squill in hyacinth blues, and thrift's pink cushions clinging to ledges like floral defiance. Below waves, sculpt caves and stacks, their roar echoing through blowholes that exhale misty breaths, while seals lounge on kelp-fringed slabs, eyes watchful over the swell. The valley between beaches, Eglwys and Pwllgwaelod, cradles a stream that threads through wet meadows, where marsh marigolds glow like solar discs in April's sun. Scrub of hawthorn and blackthorn harbours, stone chats, their white collar flashes amid the thorns, while skylarks ascend in spiralling song from grassy swards. At low tide, the shore reveals razor shells and anemone gardens in rock pools, a submerged world pulsing with crab scuttles and fish fin flickers. Dinorwic Quarry, vast and vertiginous, Dinorwic Quarry scars Elladier Faw's slopes in stepped amphitheatres of slate-grey grandeur, now softened by nature's turquoise rebirth, in flooded pits that mirror the sky's moods. Covering 700 acres, its inclines and galleries echo with the drip of seepage from moss-veiled walls, where peregrines nest in cavernous voids, launching into stoops that thunder through the chasm. Llyn Peninsula adjoins below, its dark waters fringed by birch that turns buttery in autumn, leaves drifting like golden confetti on the breeze. Dorothea Quarry. In the Nantle Valley's shadow, Dorothea Quarry plunges to 106-metre depths in flooded pits that gleam like sapphire abysses, their surfaces ruffled by winds that carry the pine scent from encircling woods. 6 pits interlink in subterranean mystery, water-tinted slate blue by mineral ghosts, where diving ducks plunge in feathered arrows amid the ripple. Ivy spills from engine house ruins like verdant cascades, reclaiming brick in thorny embrace, while ferns, hart's tongue and maidenhair, fringe ledges in delicate filigree.